Hello,
And welcome.
it's the Graveyard Girls. Welcome to our witch trial season. It's our Scottish trials today.
It's a big one.
Did you hear much?
Yeah.
I didn't even.
It sounded like you did a little fart.
I know.
Like a little love puff.
Should we get
That's
into the case?
It could be worse. You could be dead like a witch. So, you know.
Well, I guess we could. The
Have
stuff
we
we're
got a
going
curse
through.
on
Yeah,
that?
I think that's what we're going through now.
Yeah, we're still paying for it, aren't we?
So were we cursed as witches, or did witches
I
curse
think
us?
we've been cursed. I think we've been crucified as witches so many times that now they've brought us back, maybe not necessarily as witches, but we're just cursed instead. Because I think we got burned at the stake multiple times. We've probably been dunked. And exiled from. I've definitely been exiled from somewhere.
Just imagine someone like dunking us through a basketball hoop.
Oh.
Just like dunk, rather than in the water. The
Yeah,
traditional way.
You know when at work the fridges always used to leak.
Yes.
But like this time it's really flooded and they've just dunked us in it at work. Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Oh,
It's leaking
bad.
because of us. It's bringing us back. That's what it is.
It's so bad
us.
now. It's like
It's
either
because
side.
I'm not there with my little strips. They're what are they? Well, they're called Zorbies or whatever
I
they're
think
called.
Zorbies. No, they're terrible now. Both sides leaking into the middle. They're just left.
That's what it is. That's your past coming back to haunt you. That's it. It reminds you like this is how you die before. It's creeping back in. Maybe it's Terence in the roof. We had Terence the toilet ghost. For anyone that didn't know, we used to have a toilet ghost, and we called him Terence.
Yeah, you just hear something in the toilet. You're like,
Well, it started. We had those weird tiles that can kind of lift up in the ceiling.
I hate them.
And there was one that was slightly offset, so there was a gap. And I swear, one time when I went to the toilet, I saw something crawl back into it. So
well, we know what that was.
yeah, it was someone hiding in the ceiling. So yeah, it kind of became then Terence the toilet ghost, and no one really believed me. But then there was lots of strange things like the counters started. They have their own separate little machines. They started switching on in the middle of the night when I mentioned Terence.
I always saw something out the corner of my eye, and then when you look, there's nothing there.
Lurking.
Yeah, it was always lurking. And then, and then in the toilets, I did hear like a moan, and I was just like, oh no.
Someone having a shit.
No, I think it was the male cleaner coming in, but it was like a.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, what is that?
Yeah, no, I didn't like it. That one did, because I'm not freaked out by many things, but I swear I genuinely did see something crawl back into that tile. It probably was something, not a person, but it probably was something. Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been surprised. But yeah, it's just, when you catch something out the corner of your eye, you think, have I just seen what I think I've just seen? So yeah, it kind of became Terence the toilet ghost.
I'm not surprised it's haunted. Julie's come up to me and said, oh yeah,
Yeah, didn't she tell us? Yeah, didn't she tell us a child died in there?
And I was like, thanks, Julie.
A lot?
We have seen some disgusting things. I would have murdered someone for the thing I saw. That's disgusting. You do not leave the floor. You weren't even there.
Yeah, I know.
I was like, I'm not going to take a picture. Did I take a picture?
No, I haven't seen it.
Okay, good. I didn't. And I was just like, oh, you're not going to believe me, but that was disgusting.
And there's that giant turd that was in the customer toilets. Everyone went to go and have a look at.
2 or 3 times, yeah. It was. It was an experience. You had to see it.
I think I don't know what the cleaner did with it, but I'm pretty certain she would have went to take it out and bag it up rather than you could not put it down.
Andy came up to me the other day and he was like, there was some on the wall.
What animal is shitting on the wall?
And I went in to the female ones. I don't know what the hell happened, but it was like explosive.
Oh God, like projectile?
Yeah.
What was Andy doing in the women's toilet?
No, Andy wasn't in this one. I went in the women's. I'm not sure which one Andy was in, but yeah. I was just like, oh no. It's like, it was, it was disgusting. People.
They're actually, just, why would you even think of doing that? Like, even if you had like an accident, like a genuine accident.
Yeah.
You would clean it up, wouldn't you? You wouldn't leave it.
This person looked like they barely made it. And as they bent over, it's like, pfft, and I was like,
Oh.
I'm never coming in here again. It's disgusting.
I'd like to say the staff toilets were there, but they weren't really. The men's ones always stunk. Like boys at school. What is that about? What are men doing in the toilets? It just smells of piss every time you walk past the door.
I think it does, yeah. I think they probably don't flush.
Yeah,
I don't
but
know.
what's in their piss that is so strong?
Well, they don't eat right, do they?
Oh, true. Yeah, women's, I suppose it starts off, you've got a weird mixture of perfumes as you go through the cloakroom thing, and then by the time you've got to the bathroom, there's, about 20 different perfume smells. Mixed with a shitty smell. How have we even got on this topic?
I don't know how we got on this topic.
I think I was talking about his dying. Terence the toilet
Terence
ghost.
the toilet ghost, yes.
But, yeah, I don't know what people get up to in public toilets, and I really don't. I wouldn't dare leave a toilet like that.
Okay, for anyone listening, all I will say is, if you are on your period, don't leave it on the floor.
Oh, no, don't, because...
That's the only thing I'm going to tell you.
Yeah, just, why? But why would you do it?
I don't know.
Why are you carrying it around? Do they have it in their hand?
I don't know.
The only other thing I can think of them doing was, like, they didn't want to touch the public bin, so they wrapped it up in something, put it in the bag.
It wasn't even wrapped.
Oh, no. Like, you know, if it had been wrapped, I could have said they panicked, they didn't want to touch the bins, and they put it back in the bag, we're going to dispose of it at home. You got the shopping list out of the bag, and it accidentally fell out at the same time. Why are you walking around with a dirty sanitary towel in your hand?
I'm laughing because it's disgusting. I
And
do
you're going
not
to
find it
cry
funny.
if you don't.
Yeah.
No, but I don't know, why was she walking around like that? And imagine the shop being, like, full and busy.
It wouldn't even, like, fall and then, like, it travels down your leg. There's no way that would happen. And then, like, you kick it.
Like, wearing a skirt and it just flops out the bottom.
It's not going to do that. Why wouldn't you just realise that that is disgusting? I don't want anyone to see that.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to do the disgusting thing. Someone has to clean it up after you.
Yeah, but what? Just why?
I don't know.
I don't get it. People are disgusting.
People are disgusting, and this is why we had witch trials. I guess
Or put like a big siren above their head.
Yeah, they should be
like,
shamed.
Call them out, yeah.
They should be shamed. It's like, excuse me, don't do that.
This is why I could never be a cleaner. I have a massive respect for people that clean public places because I couldn't do it. The things they must see, I couldn't stomach it. I couldn't do the sick and the shit. Like, I think I'd rather go to a crime scene with a mashed up body,
than
do
cleaners.
all that.
Yes, they have our full respect because the things you have to deal with, Jesus.
On that note,
disgusting.
We should probably get on.
Why people were murdered?
Yeah.
Yes. This is a weird episode.
I think we've lost it already. It's only the first one of the day for us.
It is. Oh. Anyway.
Right, yeah, I'll like crack on my case now.
Try not to think of anything we just said. So.
Clear your mind. We need a little like meditation session in the middle here.
Okay, so during the 16th and 17th centuries, Scotland waged war against Satan.
Okay.
Or so they thought. The early modern period saw the Scottish courts trying many cases of witchcraft and witch hunts that began in 1550. The Parliament of Mary, Queen of Scots, passed the Scottish Witchcraft Act in 1563, making convictions of witchcraft subject to capital punishment. Little Ralphie in the background.
Yeah.
In the 16th century, they believed Satan was around every corner, as is Ralph, and they would meet him in the streets and that he was lurking, trying to lure you away from God. And it's a very Christian society, so going against God is treasonous.
Yes.
And obviously it's a very Christian... It's a very Christian society, so going against God is treasonous. And apparently the devil makes witches, and they do the devil's work. So this is, again, going against God. Yeah. The idea of a witch in Scotland is not having any faith in God anymore, not worshipping God anymore. So my allegiance is now with God's enemy, who is the devil. Did you hear it?
Just a little one is Satan. He's joining in.
It is someone who could interfere with crops, possibly cause hailstorms, cause sickness in animals and livestock, and even family members. People believe their neighbours, especially female ones, and they believe that they were meeting Satan and selling their souls for vengeance or a little black magic. also during Scotland in this time, it was custom for women to cover their hair. So if you stop covering your hair, this is also another sign you're a witch.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know that.
No, I didn't. One, I also would quite like the ability to cause a hailstorm.
That would be cool.
That would be cool. And two, I forgot my second point. It splitted out of my little head. Oh, yeah, that's us with a little Satan bit. Work with Satan, that's us on the weekends.
Oh, okay. Is it?
Yeah, we're off on a little jolly. Oh, you know how actually you said about seeing stuff at work out the corner of your eye, that's Satan coming for you. He's lurking.
I haven't seen it for a while, to be fair.
Oh, he's given up on you, Natasha.
Oh, no.
Or have you already sold your soul? Is that why he
Uh,
stopped lurking?
No comment. So the trials of 1649 to 50 occurred in a period of economic, political and religious unrest. Political and religious turmoil was caused by defect for the Scottish army in the Second English Civil War and the rise of power of the radical Kirk party, who attempted to create a godly society.
Okay.
Which is very common. And they are trying to root out witches and other offenders. So anyone who doesn't fit in with society.
So they're kind of a bit like the witch hunter, witch finder sort of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think all the English and Scottish ones are very similar. And they also happen in batches, like in Denmark.
Yeah.
The 1640s experienced a mini ice age, and this helped fuel and mix all the ingredients to start blaming witches and seek them out. The new Witchcraft Act in 1649 encouraged local Presbyterians to seek out the witches. The intense period of witch hunting began in 1649 and continued into 1650, being largely confined to the lowlands, particularly Lothian and Fife, but spilled over into northern England, where Scottish witch pickers were active, and that is where they prick to find a marks if you bleed, or if you feel it or not, then you are a witch or you're not a witch, depending. The period of rule by the Kirk party ended when Cromwell led an army across the border in July 1650. Some 612 records of accusations of witchcraft are known for Scotland in the years 1640 and 1650, and over 300 witches were executed in these trials.
Bloody hell.
Most of these were in ad hoc courts that had much higher execution rates than those run by professional lawyers.
Okay.
Most of the witches were obviously women, and most of these were relatively low social status. The devil featured relatively rarely in these witchcraft trials. So this is going back to kind of like the folk women, the magic women.
The healers, things like
midwives.
I was going to say somewhere in that, because obviously a lot of the work they do is bring in life and, well, could also result in death depending on how successful the pregnancy is.
Yes, but that you shouldn't blame a midwife.
No, you shouldn't. No. But I know there was a lot of that. Because wasn't the thing, I can't for the life of me remember the name of them, but they had like a lot of the midwives would carry a lot of little like charmy things around with them. And there was one, it wasn't an acorn, but it was a bit like an acorn, and there were supposed to be ones that have washed up from like Caribbean countries, and it was a sign that if it had made it all that way, that like things would live on, like it would live regardless of like all the storms and the turmoil. So they used to use them as little charms, and a lot of the times midwives had them. My stomach just rumbled. Midwives had them, and they would dish them out. But obviously, then families later on, if the birth wasn't successful, and the baby passed away, some of them said it was like used as a curse or whatever. Like it was the midwife had brought it and used it as a curse against the baby.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there was a lot of midwives would give things, pass them on to the women, like that obviously about to give birth.
I like that.
Yeah, it was quite good. There was things I want to say. I don't know whether this is right or whether I made it up. I want to say it's something like it was called Mary's Nut or something like that. It was something like that. It was something that made me giggle, and I'm sure it's something like that. But it was some sort of like sense. Type of like little scene, like an acorny sort of thing.
That's good because then, in a way, I guess you could plant the acorn and then
I don't know if it would have been pretty dead by the time it'd come here, because it was something like washed up sort of in the sea. It was like plant matter, but it was sort of like it all dried up. They did use different stones as well. But this year it was supposed to be thing, and I think they sort of made it into a bit of like a necklace sort of style thing, and like they would give it to expectant mothers. And that's what it was. It was supposed to protect them. It's supposed to be like, obviously this survived the journey, so like your baby should survive the journey into the world.
Do they wear it on a long chain so it's on the belly? Because I think I've seen them.
Yeah, they do. And obviously, because there was a thing with midwives, a lot of them didn't tend to give out necessarily religious ones. Some of them would be sort of cross shapes, but lots of them they'd done other things. But that eventually, when things started going wrong, a lot of it started being associated with witches, and that witches would have these charms. But it's not. It's actually something that midwives carried around. But obviously, at the time of the witch trials,
that gets overlapped. It's like, oh, you're a woman in medicine. You're not. You're a witch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and obviously,
like that.
is obviously a lot at that time because of, well, healthcare wasn't a thing. Obviously, both women and a lot of babies didn't survive the labour. So, obviously, if it went wrong and people had a bit of a thing against it, it was like the
witch killed them. See, I like that. I love little charms.
I do. I thought it was really good. Yeah, I can't remember what documentary I watched on. It was a little while ago, but I just remember it stuck with me because I'm sure it was something like Mary's Not, because I remember giggling to myself.
Maybe we'll Google that afterwards.
We'll have a little look.
See what it is. We're like, that's not what it is, Amelia.
It was like I've just made it up. No, I'm sure it was. I definitely read it somewhere.
Like a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah,
fact.
I do remember. It was a thing, but I can't remember for the life of me what it was called.
Speaking of Mary, we're going back to Mary, Queen of Scots. Her son King James the 6th and 1st, and he's the 6th in Scotland, and he will be the 1st in England. He put witch hunting on the map in Scotland when he's just obviously the King of Scots.
Yeah.
He's waiting to be crowned King James the 1st of England, and that only happens if he survives. And at this point, he's an orphan. Both his parents have been killed. There's no one left in his family who could become king.
Okay. So
the House of Stuart hangs in the balance and is on the thread of James's life. So he's very paranoid, thinking everyone's out to get him. And obviously, if you look at his history, that's understandable, as his mother was obviously executed.
Yeah, wasn't his dad murdered?
Yeah.
Because he was the Cradle King. That's what they named him, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I've watched another documentary on him. Because wasn't they said like he was a really volatile child?
Yeah.
And that he was like plagued with illnesses. Because I think he was 7 or 8 before he could walk. He was like crippled. So like with this, how like you've mentioned with the witches, I think it plays a massive part in his mindset. I think he's just been plagued by a lot of terrible things.
Well, yeah, and also with his mum bringing in the Witchcraft Act. In the olden days, then it's obviously going to be playing on his mind that maybe the witches are out to get him because of what his mum did. And then the weather comes into play.
Yes.
So in 1589 to 1590, James is looking to get married to the Danish princess Anne, but when she sets sail for Scotland, there are terrible storms and she ends up in Norway as she can't get any further. So James then sails to Norway to meet her and bring her back, but then there are more storms. So then they get married there.
Okay.
The Danish start having their own trials due to this because they think maybe it's witches conjuring up the bad weather, trying to jeopardize the marriage. So when James returns to Scotland, he launches his own witch trials.
Yes.
So folk magic has always existed in Scotland, but the medieval Catholic Church attached the likes of cursing your neighbour and the darker craft like the devil pacts and sabbaths to this folk magic. So this all starts to seem real.
Right, okay.
And it seems plausible to King James. He starts interrogating some of the accused witches himself personally.
Right, okay.
And he wants to hear their stories, and he believes he's a great interrogator and he can find the right questions and he's going to get to the bottom of it.
Okay. So it's sort of his plan in his head. He's going to root it all out.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose as well, again, that even feeds back into his paranoia. He doesn't almost trust anyone else to do it. He's so superstitious, mixed in with paranoia.
Yeah, and I think I get into it in a bit. He thinks it's his job. He thinks he's the devil's enemy, so he thinks he should do this.
He's got to rid it.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So James becomes convinced that he's the direct target of the devil because he's the greatest enemy the devil has in the world. And he wants the English to know that if or when he gets the English throne, that they're not just getting any old monarch, they're getting the mighty enemy of the devil. And so the English really get the message. He has pamphlets printed so they can read all about the trials and hunts.
Oh. So he's making a big mark.
Mm-hmm. In 1590, the local accusations are starting, like I said. It's in the atmosphere. People believe James is right and the people are fearful. It's fuzzy and scary, so people are being named. And
Right.
you're just going to start naming who you think is a bit weird.
Yeah.
So David Seaton is from an influential family, and he becomes concerned about the nocturnal habits and comings and goings of his servant, Gellis Duncan. With the power of him being a man and from a wealthy family, I put deathly. With the power of him being a man from a wealthy family who owns his own home, he can arrest her in his house and torture her, and no one bats an eye.
Oh, he sounds delightful. He is definitely.
He is definitely. So torture obviously plays a massive part in all the confessions, and their theory is that God is there to protect you while you're being tortured. So you won't confess to anything you haven't done, so you will be innocent.
Okay.
So you confess into things, then clearly you are a witch.
Yeah, nothing to do with the fact you've just been bashed over the head.
Exactly, and obviously we know that this is complete bullshit. So back to Duncan. While she was able to withstand many forms of torture, including pillywinks, which is the thumb.
Ooh.
Yes. She eventually confessed to witchcraft when the method of searching was used, and this is when they search for a witch mark or
okay, so like a mole
or a thing, yeah. So that's undeniable proof that you're a witch, apparently. But you and I are covered.
Yeah, we're covered, so we're in trouble.
And obviously and then she accuses many others of witchcraft. According to the pamphlet News from Scotland in 1591, she named numerous individuals, both men and women. She names Agnes Sampson, who is the oldest one of all of them.
Yeah.
Barbara Napier, a Dr. Fian, who also goes by John Cunningham, Euphemie McCalzian, Robert Grayson, Lennet Badlandius, the porter's wife of Seaton, whoever that is, I'm not sure. That it just said that. So I was just like, okay, she has no other name than the porter's wife. The smith of Bride Hallis, Margaret Archson, Alanis Moore, and others are not named in the pamphlet. So it's just, she names quite a few of them. Okay. She's the one who kind of starts off the Berwick witch trials.
Right, okay.
So Duncan was also found to have conspired with Euphemie in the murder of Duncan's godfather, and I couldn't find anything else, but apparently his godfather is dead.
Okay.
And he blames Gellis and Euphemie.
Okay.
So she was found guilty and burnt alive on the 25th of June 1591 on the southern slope of the castle hill below Edinburgh Castle.
Right, okay.
Barbara Napier came from a good family and had married a book dealer named George Kerr in 1572. George died at La Rochelle in 1576, and then she married Archibald Douglas, and Gellis Duncan caused the arrest of her for bewitching the death of Archibald, the 8th Earl of Angus. Archibald was reported to have died from a disease so strange that there could be no cure or remedy.
Mm-hmm.
He fell ill at Langhope and died at Smeaton near Dalkeith on the 4th of August 1588. It was alleged that Euphemie, Barbara, Agnes and others had attended an assembly of witches at Atkinson's Haven, where an image of King James was given to the devil for the destruction of the king.
Okay.
Barbara had brought charms to help her own health and to try and fix her poor relative with Jean Lyon, Countess of Agnes, who employed her and her husband. They did not work as she lost her job. When all it came to trial, Barbara was accused of a practice to kill the king by witchcraft, but was found guilty of only the lesser crime of conspiring with witches. King James ordered the Chancellor to have physicians examine her to see if she was pregnant, and if she was not, to have her burnt and publicly disemboweled.
Ooh, oh, nice.
So that's a bit extreme. So I'm assuming she was claiming she was pregnant.
To this day, don't get the point of the disembowelment. I don't get.
I think it's just so you won't do it.
I know, because like, I feel, not that it's right, but like the burning at the stake and certain other things, like, or like, like stabbing with something silver, like, it's got a purpose. If you're superstitious, it's like, that's the only thing that will kill off that creature.
Yeah. But
I know, obviously, they didn't use just disembowelment for, like, witches and stuff, but it seems a very odd way to kill people.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean?
Especially if it's being burnt and then disemboweled.
And yeah, I don't get the point of the disembowelment.
No.
It's just guts hanging out. I don't... Is it more of a graphic thing?
I think so. I think it's like, this is what happens to witches, so don't be one.
Yeah.
Maybe? I
But
don't
then
know.
are they not risking letting her soul-y stuff fall out if they disembowel and leave her open? Because that's what I would be thinking at the time, is like, burn her fine, burn her to a crisp. But then, if you're going to disembowel her, you've opened her up, aren't you leaking the risk of her soul, like, escaping out into the air? And, like, getting into someone else? Because that's what I would think at the time. Because obviously, like, the lack of education,
Soul.
you think you've just opened her up now.
Yeah, true.
Because that's one thing I never understood about the whole disembowelment thing. Not that it makes it better. I could understand if they're doing it, you know, like while they're alive, like because they're just going to slowly bleed stuff. You know, like as a type of torture.
It's not great.
Yeah, but I don't get ones where they've disemboweled them afterwards. I don't understand
It's just overkill. What's the point?
Yeah, it seems a bit pointless to me.
I never thought about that.
Yeah, it's an unusual one. Maybe I'll have to find out and do a case on it.
Get a seance and we'll be like, why? Why did you disembowel? Maybe to see if she
Imagine
was
this-
pregnant?
Yeah. No, because it's not in your bowel, is it?
No. But unless they're doing like the whole, all the way.
What if the baby falls out?
Yeah, they're like, oh, damn it, she was. Yeah, because how do they know back then? Other than like being a 3-4, put a little cup to the belly.
I don't think they even did that then.
No.
I don't know. I guess, well, first they'd ask her when did she have a period, but then that's subject to whether she's lying or not.
Also, they're like,
I don't know, don't they do
that's frowned
things...
upon.
There was weird things, like, didn't they just used to grab the breasts and they say, like, if they were firm, like, they're written gorge, you know, like, with milk. It's like weird shit like that. You know when you watch, like, period dramas for the time, it's weird things like, oh, you must be pregnant because you have engorged breasts or something like that.
I shouldn't be looking, thank you. See, this is the thing. Why do the men not get done for looking?
I don't know.
Or grabbing. Let's just say.
I don't know, because she was there first. She taunted him with them.
No,
She
didn't.
jiggled.
No, she didn't.
I don't know.
I don't get it. Anyway. So, King James wanted an appeal to overturn the first verdict. So he spoke to jurors who faced penalties for their former decision on the 7th of June, 1591, and they agreed with his views. So the appeal was overturned.
Yes, you are going to agree to him, because if not, you're going to get in trouble.
Exactly.
I'm not going to go, no, I don't agree with you.
Which is...
And also, it's the king. It's not like he's a random person.
You can't be like, no, I don't agree with you. You're like,
because then you'd be like, not treason.
Yeah, essentially. That is treasonous. You cannot go against the king.
I don't really feel like they had a choice in that.
Well, no one had a choice in the witch trials unless you were the witch hunter. So her fate is actually unclear.
Okay.
And it is possible that she eventually burnt to death, as the town council brought materials to build a fire for her execution, and they were used on the 25th of June at the burning of Euphemy.
Right.
So she was probably murdered alongside her.
Okay.
So more than 100 suspected witches in North Berwick were arrested. Several confessed under torture to having met with the devil in the church at night and devoted themselves to doing evil, including poisoning the king and other members of his household and attempting to sink the king's ship, the one that he was
sailing back from, yeah.
So in February 1591, King James instructed David Seaton, who was the one who got Gellis Duncan to confess.
Okay.
He was sent to find the accused people who fled to England.
Right.
The English ambassador Robert Bowers wrote in that these fugitives were the worst sort of witches.
Oh.
So I think David Seaton was like kind of like the first witch finder.
Okay.
But he's not classed as one when you look into witch finders.
Right, okay.
So in Europe, Sabbaths were witches flying hundreds of miles on brooms. They were cannibals and they had orgies. And the confessed or the documented confessions in Scotland are that they gather with the devil in the kirk, kiss him on the bum to seal their pact, and then he had led them through a religious ritual similar to what they do in church. So the European and the Scottish one differ slightly.
Okay.
So the most dangerous thing to, quote, witches is your name being brought up in interrogation. And once you're accused, that's it. Although it's all made up and imaginary, you're basically fucked once your name is brought under torture. So the two significant accused persons were Agnes Sampson, who I said earlier, and she was a respected elderly woman from Humby, and Dr. John Fian, who was a schoolmaster and scholar in Prestonpans. Both initially refused to confess and were put to severe torture, obviously.
Yeah. I do know a bit about Agnes.
Yes. Sampson was brought before King James and a council of nobles. She denied all the charges, but after torture she confessed. By special commandment, her head and body was shaved, and she was fastened to the wall of her cell by a witch's bridle, which is an iron instrument with the 4 prongs to the mouth, and so that 2 of the prongs pressed against her tongue and the others were against her cheeks. She was kept without sleep and thrown with a rope around her head. After these ordeals, she confessed to the 53 indictments against her. She was finally strangled and burnt as the witch. According to news from Scotland in 1591, Sampson confessed to attending a sabbat with 200 witches, included Gellis Duncan.
Ooh. I have a bit more about the shaving the hair thing.
Okay.
It's not very nice, but it might be an interesting fact. It was a thing that I read up about. I think I might have seen it in a documentary actually. And it was talking about the Scottish trials and how a lot of the torture was sexualised. And the way they did it was by first, obviously, they shaved the head because she now doesn't look like a woman, but also they removed pubic hair. So it's like she was like fully exposed. So they basically shaved the whole body. So on the hair thing, they took all the hair off.
Yes.
They didn't leave anything.
Yeah,
so it was she was like full on view. And they were saying that a lot of the torture, they felt like a lot of it obviously was of a sexual nature, because there was, I think it was a documentary I was watching about women in the time and like the power or the lack of power that women had. And they were saying though at the time most of the torture was obviously like, I don't know, like stabbings, beatings, things like that. People were saying was there like rapes and sexual assaults in terms of things. Of course and they were saying that the reason that they believe there was things like this. It was documented of things of shaving of the pubic hair. Like if you messing around doing things like that, like it's not too much of a step.
No.
To think that they're doing other things as well.
Yeah. I think they just say like, oh, they shaved their head, implying that they are shaving other areas, but they're not. They don't want to say it.
Yeah.
Because
it happened.
But then it's like, well, that's just one step too far. It's too gruesome. But it happened.
The whole thing was these people were innocent at the end of the day.
It's just like, I think we just whitewash history just to make it comfortable to read about, I think. Yeah. So Dr. Fian also suffered severe torture. This is maybe a graphic warning.
Okay.
His fingernails were forcibly extracted with iron pins, and they were inserted.
Oh.
So they would be taken out and then he'd have the iron pins. Yeah.
No. Oh, you know when you think you peel a nail back but a bit too far.
Yep. He was also tortured with the pillywinks, which is the thumb thing, and the boot, which you can find in our torture
episode.
Yes.
Because we like to talk about lots of light-hearted things.
It's history. It's not nice. So Fian finally was taken to the castle in Edinburgh and burnt at the stake on the 16th of December. Fian's testimony implicated Francis Stewart, who was the 5th Earl of Bothwell, in a supernatural conspiracy, bringing political element into the ongoing trials. And obviously we can't have that.
No.
So the North Berwick witch trials lasted 2 years and implicated over 70 people. It started on Halloween night of 1590.
Spooky.
It was the last instance of such prosecutions of political intent, the first major trial of witchcraft under criminal law, and the first occasion on which the continental witch theory was deployed. So it thinks that like women can travel on brooms and like spread
and
around.
And they sort of gather around the world if they'll come for a big meeting.
Yes. So I'm not sure which trial Barbara Cunningham was a part of, but her shoes were stolen by an English soldier while she napped. So she went to go get them back from like the barracks or the building they were staying in, and they refused.
How did she know it was him if she was asleep?
She probably woke up. I'm not sure if she took them off and they were next to her, or he took them off her feet while she napped in the street.
Right, okay.
And she probably just saw him, and then it was just like, okay, I'm going to follow him. So...
Is he a cross-dresser? Why does he want ladies' shoes?
I think maybe just to give to one of the servant girl, maybe?
Oh, yeah, maybe.
So, as she asked for them back, he refused. So she said to him, quote, "A worse sight shall be seen about this house, let it be long." End quote. I'm not sure what this meant. So they were worried about this curse.
Long suffering, maybe?
Maybe. It was obviously Old English, so it's like...
I take that as like, something happened, but may you like suffer like for a long time, like long suffering,
Yeah. So they were worried about this curse, so they sent a servant girl to Barbara, and said she could have her shoes back as long as she paid the soldier.
Oh.
So she then repeated the same curse to the girl. Then 6 weeks later, the house burnt down. And this was the main evidence in her trial.
Right, okay.
So
obviously Barbara did it.
Obviously. And I'm assuming she was put to death, but this is the only thing I could find on Barbara. All she wanted was to have a nap, and some soldier came and stole her shoes. Oh, well. So
where was his thing for theft?
This is what I'm saying. He's a soldier. He can get away with anything. Why would you take shoes?
I don't get the whole women's shoes thing. If it was another man, I could have said he was desperate for boots and he was poor, he couldn't afford any, but has he got really tiny feet? Does he like wearing women's shoes?
Unless she had male shoes, but I'm assuming she was homeless as she was napping on the street. That's the only shoes she had.
Shoes.
Yeah, exactly. He should have like nice clean shoes. I'm assuming he stole them for the servant girl.
Oh, okay.
That's
even still, out of all the shoes you're gonna steal, you steal some from a shop, wouldn't you?
It's soldier. Just walk in, take it, be like, it's on the king. So it's not known what caused the witch hunt of 1597. Why does it get confusing when you have like dates with weird numbers?
I don't know.
It's not known what caused the witch hunt of 1597, but at this time, Scotland experienced a political conflict between the monarch and the Presbyterian Church, as well as plague and famine. In Edinburgh, a witch trial took place in 1596 when Christian Stewart was accused of having bewitched Patrick Ruthven to death, a case which the king took a personal interest. This was also the same year that King James VI published his book on witchcraft, Demonology, because after interrogating all these, quote, witches, he believes he is an expert, but he doesn't realize it's guided confessions. As these women he's interrogating are usually uneducated, kept awake for days, and this man who is torturing them is educated and above them in every aspect. So this man telling you've been taking part in Sabbaths, you agree with him because you don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah.
So in July 1597, King James spent 9 days at St. Andrews investigating preachings at the university and attending the trials of witches. There was said to be a large number of witches of several sorts, which means social classes.
Right, okay.
Who had dedicated themselves to the devil and had the witch's mark. The English diplomat Robert Bowes heard that the trials would be published. In August, Bowes heard that a witch, Combe Anderson, and others had attempted to drown the king at Dundee by witchcraft, and others had tried to kill Prince Henry. The earliest cases recorded seem to have taken place in Slains north of Aberdeen in March 1597, where the local authorities asked for permission to execute witches. This was followed by a large witch trial in Aberdeen against Janet Wishart and her accomplices. Janet was alleged to have used a cantrip, which is a spell, to cause one victim to alternately shiver and sweat, bewitched other victims so that they died or nearly died, raised stones via throwing out of live coals, and used nightmare cats to inflict horrible dreams, dismembered a corpse hanging at the gallows, and then she was executed by burning along with another witch, but I'm not sure who the witch is.
Right, okay.
So what's a nightmare cat?
I don't know. Bad cat?
Or it's like, do they mean in the dreams? You can't control people's dreams.
Oh, apparently you can if you're a witch.
Apparently, you can do anything if you're a witch, but not get away with it.
Yeah, that's what I don't understand. If you're so good
If
at
you're
witching,
so good,
you would
yes,
hide it, wouldn't you?
Exactly.
No, these witch finders are just so outstanding.
Oh, they're so good.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll bring in a witch finder in a minute. So several royal commissions were sent to investigate sorcery in many parts of the country. The witch hunt seemed to have been most frequent in Fife, Perthshire, Glasgow, Stirlingshire, especially in Aberdeenshire, all between 4th of March and October. So Margaret Aiken is an unusual one
Okay.
because she was accused of witchcraft, and she avoided torture and execution because she turned witch finder by claiming to be able to recognize fellow witches during her confession.
Oh, okay.
So she said she could recognize them by looking for a special mark in their eyes, and told interrogators she knew of a convention of 2,300 witches in Athol.
That's a very specific amount.
Yeah, well,
and it's not like any of the others, because it's normally like 200 or 300 witches.
yeah, this is 2,000.
Yeah.
2,000.
So are they all gathering there?
Yeah, like, you would notice this many people.
Like, you think, like, when you get, like, a swarm of, like, swallows in the sky, you'd notice a massive witches flying overhead, wouldn't you?
Unless they fly in at night.
Yeah, but even then...
I know, you but
You would hear the noise. They'd make a bit of a noise, wouldn't they? You'd hear the cackling.
Yeah, you'd hear the cackling. Of course. Yes, it's so annoying.
If you can hear me from the other end of Sainsbury's, you definitely hear 300 witches.
So, as a result of this confession, a special commission was formed with the approval of King James, and the prosecutions took her from town to town to detect witches using both her gift and a rare example in Scotland, the swimming method.
Oh, is that like dunking?
Yes, dunking. It's, I think, I can't remember what dunking was. Sorry, swimming. I think it's like you lower them in. It's kind of like dunking.
Okay, because dunking, they just drop put underwater and then they pull them back out. So,
yeah.
So maybe swimming, did they like tie them together and sort of leave them on the surface?
I think they tie a rope to them, but tie their thumbs
so they can't swim.
Toes together so they can't swim. So it's like if you it's the same thing. If you float, you're a witch. If you sink, you're innocent.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you're already dead, so too late.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Aiken's short-lived success not only led to the execution of hundreds of women, but led to imitators.
Oh, okay.
So
we got a whole new fraud going here.
Yeah. So in the summer of 1597, a skeptical prosecutor took some of those Aiken had declared guilty and then brought them back the next day in different clothing, and she declared them innocent.
Oh.
So she was exposed for being a fraud.
Ah, good.
On August 1st, she was stopped, and on August 12th, the commissions were ordered to end the trials until the claims could be better examined. Robert Bowes wrote on the 15th of August that the king had been lately pestered and in many ways troubled in the examinations of the witches, which swarm in exceeding numbers and apparently reported in many thousands. So he's starting to have doubts.
Right.
That even though he started it, he's beginning to worry about everything.
Right, okay.
He's worrying that he may have started something that wasn't true.
Okay. Which obviously wouldn't look good on him.
Yes. So it was reported on the 5th of September that King James remained involved in the witch trials. The accused were drawn from all social classes, and then the king had his mind only bent upon the examination and trials of sorcerers and of men and women. As such great number are accused, that is a wonder, and those not only of the meanest sort, but also of the best. So, like, it's starting to, like, the upper classes are starting to be brought into it. So I think
there's a panic.
That might be plaguing his mind. I don't know if he's genuinely worried.
Yeah.
Or it's just like now it's starting to involve people he knows.
Yeah.
So now he's like, okay, he's going to put an end to it. So fewer death sentences seem to have been issued after the execution of Margaret Aiken. And by October, the witch hunt seemed to have stopped. So there's two sides to King James. He's viewed as a good king, highly intelligent, and he's a loving partner to both men and women.
Okay.
But he's also a killer, a fanatical witch hunter. It's dawning on him that he might be wrong, so he switches tactics in England and he begins to tone down his views on witches. The wave of persecutions came to a sudden end in 1597 when he published his Demonology and rewrote the witchcraft commissions. So King James died in 1625, but this wasn't the end of the trials.
Okay.
The Great Scottish Witch Hunt of 1661 to 62 was a series of nationwide witch trials which took place across the whole of Scotland during a period of 16 months from April 1661. At least 660 people were tried for witchcraft and various forms of diabolism. The exact number of those executed is unknown, largely because they were tried by different local courts. It's believed the number of these were in the hundreds. Under no period in Scottish history, possibly with the exception of the Great Scottish Witch Hunt of 1597, there were so many tried for witchcraft during this time. The witch hunt started in Midlothian and East Lothian, east of Edinburgh, where 206 people were accused of sorcery between April and December of 1661.
Okay.
Subsequently, the authorities appointed commissions to examine the existence of witchcraft in every part of the country. And as time moved on into the 18th century, people were starting to get skeptical of witches and witch hunters altogether, and so they ended. It's believed that between 3,000 and 4,000 accused witches may have been killed in Scotland between the years of 1560 and 1707.
Bloody hell.
And in March of this year, 2022, Nicola Sturgeon, who is Scotland's First Minister, she apologised for the persecutions of all the alleged witches during the 16th, 17th and 18th centuries. And there's a little memento mori plaque dedicated to the North Berwick witches in the grounds of St Andrew's Kirk to this day.
Oh, that's good.
So yeah,
I mean, it's a bit late, can't bring them back, but
yeah,
at least it's recognised.
Yeah, so it's not fully confirmed how many people actually died.
Yeah,
but it's thousands.
I've got enough. I'm sure this is right for the North Berwick one. I might have another. Do you know how they actually managed to confirm the witches? I know this links with Agnes Simpson, how she was actually imprisoned and how it was linked with the witch trials.
I'm not sure, tell me.
Because the other ones that they did like pamphlets, and obviously a lot of records get lost. This was found, there was a historian, she was doing research into prison logbooks, and they keep track of all the money that goes in and out, and there was ones, it was the things listed for different doctors, but this doctor was a witch doctor, like linked with witch doctors, like so obviously sourcing out the witches. He wasn't an actual witch doctor.
Okay, yeah.
And he was being paid at frequent times, but it also listed the names of the people that he was sent in to see and the types of names, and then certain things were brought in. So he would request, obviously in terms of torture, he would request certain things be brought in, and the prison needed to order those things in. So obviously it had to go on the prison building the logbook of what they ordered in, and if you looked at what they logged in, it matched up with other records that were a bit sketchy. And it listed obviously the names of the prisoners, what was brought in, what they weren't feeded, and what doctor was sent to see them, because they also had like a prison doctor.
Yeah.
And certain ones would only see this doctor, and that's how they found out that these ones had been brought in under the for witchcraft, because they'd have certain things and certain bits within their bill written in, and then they all seemed to, a lot of them would die all on the same day, all their records of their prison thing would suddenly disappear. But a lot of them were linked with different torture methods and the types of food, or there'd be gaps in their things, so they'd go days without food, whereas the rest of the prisoners would obviously be given a very, not that they had a very nice time, but people in for other crimes like murders and thefts, they would get obviously like a set amount of food, and their things seemed to be pretty regular, whereas these other ones, they'd like all of a sudden have a lot of attention, and then it'd dwindle, and they'd be in there for a strange amount of times, but it wasn't listed what their crime was. So they looked, and when they've looked into records, especially like with Agnes, obviously she was listed as one of the things.
They worked it out.
And this woman, she's gone through, and it's literally, she's gone through all the prison records and like literally effectively their accounts, if you like, and she managed to link it up just to confirm. So it's almost like a backup. There obviously was other records, but there wasn't the fine details, and they weren't exactly sure like where they were held and like what happened. But she, with the logbook, she was able to confirm the dates of when the likely trials were and put it in with the deaths, because they had to bring in the executioners as well. Like, to the prisons, obviously, like, some of them were taken away in carriages to some places, obviously others were dragged, but it depends on who they had to employ for the day, and who they had to put on the payroll to bring in. So obviously if it was a big witch trial, they had to bring in certain people and put them on the payroll in prison and sign them in. Yeah.
See?
So prison records, for a lot of it, is how they covered a lot of the witch trials, because it was what was listed in the prison records. Yeah.
Because, they're not going to be like, oh, we burnt this person alive because they're a witch.
But it's the last
Some might.
place you think to look. Like in terms of if you wanted to destroy records, you probably like go to like the King's Palace. Like you look for like all those sort of records. You wouldn't think, oh, the prison is going to keep details of that.
That's good. That's good research.
But yeah, a lot of them in Scotland. It was this one woman. She's still going through the records.
Oh, I'm not surprised. See, this is a good thing because with the some of the European ones, there's barely any information. So maybe if you could like look at the prison ones, but would they be in the prison records in the European ones? Probably not.
I don't know. It depends how they kept it. But like I said, obviously, it is hard to say anything that's kept in a book. It's easily destroyed, isn't it?
Like I said, the German ones are the most documented ones I've ever come across.
And that's it. And it depends how happy they are to document it. And then I suppose like future kings and queens coming along, whether they want to discard that sort of information.
It's like, oh no, we never burnt anyone. We never burnt 4,000 people. No, we never did that. And we didn't disembowel them either because we don't know the point of that.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I don't know. It's just strange. It's a lot for such a small area, but I do see why the king was the way he was. I think he was so plagued by this.
And he was also the one to put an end to them, other than the one that happened after his death. He was the one who was like, actually, I think I made a mistake. But
it was good in a way, but he'd already caught.
Yes, and he's only doing it now because he was like, well, the earls and they're being.
Yeah, because you look at like the French ones, like it was getting into the royalty, and like how long would it have been before someone accused him? There's that paranoia on top. But to be fair, he was pretty brave. You even look at his marriage in the end when he went over to her. He left that country unruled. Imagine if he died. Like, what would have happened to the monarchy then? He took a massive risk.
That's the thing, though. He was an orphan. He had nothing to lose. Well, he had everything to lose, but like he's trying to secure his position. That's the only way he can do it.
Yeah, can you imagine in terms of the monarchy what would have happened if he died on that thing? Like the turmoil they would have put in, because it wasn't just Scotland, it was England as well.
And England, yeah.
That could have been a massive. They could have gone back almost like, I mean, they hadn't really made amends, but you think how it kind of, because he ended up being for Scotland and England, like he could have set all that back, and you could have ended up with several other kings. They could have all jumped in and done several different things.
I like that he has two names, like King James the Sixth and First.
It's funny.
Yeah, it's like ooh.
No, he's an interesting guy. Well, maybe one of us will have to do a case on him one day, because he's a very interesting character.
He is, like I said, because he like basically starts all the ones in Scotland, and maybe he kind of triggers the one in England. Maybe
I think he just holds such. I think he's more. He triggers the ones in Scotland. It naturally filters down, and then I think he.
But then the Danish triggers them as well. They both happen in batches.
Yeah. But then again, is that the royal circles they're running in? It's sort of, they want to be seen to, not united necessarily, but obviously if he's gone and married
her,
she's obviously they've got to be looking at it from both fronts, because otherwise it could cause a bit of a rupture between the countries, couldn't it? It's in their interest to unite them, isn't it?
Yes, and that's how you murder 4,000 people. It joins everyone together.
But what I still don't get in this is, if there was really that many witch, like you think of the population at the time, that means like basically everyone. So like in terms of the house, probably like 2 or 3 people in your house are a witch. How did no one notice until the trials that there was this many witches wandering around?
Well, that's kind of what happens in the German ones. I'm not going to tell you now because you have to wait to find out. But yeah, so many people are accused. They're like, well, there's no one left.
But literally, like, if it was that much problem, why didn't we notice before? Like, why has it took that long to notice?
But the thing, folk magic was a thing in Scotland that was accepted, but because he's paranoid, the Danish start theirs. Ice Age, well, mini Ice Age happens. There's
famine.
Yeah.
It seems such madness, doesn't
it does.
I still don't get it.
But then it's like, oh, the satanic panic of the 80s, and then people who don't want vaccines now because it causes autism. It's like, oh, fuck off.
Oh well, you'll all have to be like me, wash.
So what if it does? Like we said, what's quote normal, what's not? It
is just massive hysteria.
We're probably going to have another mass hysteria soon because we're getting into the famine. Oil.
Living crisis. No fuel.
This is why you need renewables. Don't rely on some old man.
But also, we shouldn't necessarily be relying on other countries. You should be self-sufficient.
Especially if
you're going to do silly things like leave Europe.
But like,
you can't have all of your supplies from every other country and then go, oh, we don't like you anymore, we're going to fuck off. Oh wait, no shit, we need your materials. If you wouldn't mind sharing those with us still.
No, Amelia, it was the racist people who wanted out, and then they're like, oh shit. It's like, no, we can do everything ourselves. Turns out we can't. We actually do need
We do need help from other countries, but what's even worse is a lot of it we could actually be more self-sufficient. We are an island. We've got plenty of access to water power.
Yes.
I mean, we're literally a little island surrounded by lots and lots of water.
Wave power is a thing. I literally have a thing behind you on that's on about fuel power. It's just so basically just be self-sufficient.
Yeah. Thing is, even in terms of other things with like fuel and like food and stuff, like you look at the industries we used to have, like steelworks and that, we've got rid of everything. We could, if we maybe put the infrastructure back in here, we could actually have it rather than go into the countries. It's just we want cheaper stuff, so we're naughty and get it from other countries.
Because it's cheaper.
Yeah.
And we don't think of the consequences of cheap labour.
No. Or environmental costs.
Exactly.
But yeah, like I said, there's absolutely no reason why we can't be self-sufficient. We're just arseholes, I think, is the answer.
So, capitalism. That's what it is.
So, yeah, don't support the British, we're shit.
But support us.
Yeah, just us.
Yes.
Because we've recognised that it's wrong.
Yeah.
And so therefore we deserve it all.
Or
just some money. Yeah, just some money so we can live off it, please. I'd be quite happy.
Just to survive would be good for now.
Yeah, I don't want lots, just enough.
But those who are supporting us, thank you.
Thank you very much.
You do help a lot. And yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it for this episode.
It is.
After a little rant at the end there. It's been a very strange episode. It started off very strange.
It's a nice weird sandwich.
Yeah. Yeah, broken it up.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, thank you for listening in the meantime.
Keep creeping.
And we'll keep digging.